I've lived long enough to know that life rarely announces when it is about to change. Sometimes it arrives gently, like morning light creeping between curtains. Sometimes it arrives violently, like glass shattering on a tile floor. And sometimes it arrives quietly, through a phone line that never fully disconnects. It was a slow Thursday afternoon, the kind where the house feels too large and silence settles in the corners like dust. I had spent the morning watering Anne's roses, my late wife's pride and joy, even though they no longer bloomed the way they used to. I like to believe she still walks among them somehow, guiding my hands the way she once guided my heart. I called my daughter Lily not for anything urgent, just a small question. Did she want the old piano from the den? It was the one her mother used to play, the same one Lily would bang on as a child, pretending to compose symphonies with sticky, peanut, butter-covered fingers. "Dad, can I call you back? We're just parking," she said, hurried, distracted, as if my voice had interrupted something far more important. "Of course, sweetheart," I replied, smiling even though she couldn't see it. She ended the call, or so she thought. I was about to set the phone down when I heard a door slam and her husband Mark's voice, low but unmistakable. "So, did he buy it?" "Buy what?" Lily's tone was sharp, almost impatient. "That he needs a home, a facility, something. He can't stay there, Lily." A strange tension crept into my chest. A chill, a feeling not unlike a small crack forming in a glass that had always seemed unbreakable. I didn't move, didn't breathe. "He has to go to a nursing home, Mark. I'm not dancing around it anymore." The words hit me like a blow. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear, my heartbeat thudding so loudly it drowned out the soft hum of the refrigerator behind me. Mark scoffed. "He's getting old. You heard him last week. Couldn't remember where he put his keys. That's not normal for him," Lily insisted. "He's been slower, forgetful, and the doctor said it's something we should keep an eye on." "Well, I'm keeping an eye on it, Lily." Mark paused, then lowered his voice. "It's not just about him. You know that." My hands trembled. "Oh, please," she whispered harshly. "We're drowning, Mark. Bills, the car payment, your business loan. We need a break. And that house is worth almost 900,000. Mark exhaled sharply. 890, according to the realtor. They'd already checked, already planned, already plotted. My stomach twisted. "We could clear everything," Lily continued. "You could finally breathe. I could stop worrying every time we go grocery shopping. We could buy that townhome near the bay." There was a beat of silence, then Mark's quiet, venomous agreement. "So we just have to make him see it. Tell him it's for his own good. He'll listen." Lily said with a confidence that tore through me. "He trusts me." My vision blurred. My daughter, my only child, the girl whose scraped knees I once bandaged, whose nightmares I chased away with lullabies, whose college tuition I paid with 2 jobs, had become a stranger. A stranger planning to sell my house, my home, the place where her mother and I built a life, where we raised her, where laughter once echoed so loudly that the walls still remember. I ended the call gently, as if any sudden movement might cause the world to collapse. The house felt colder somehow. I sat down at the kitchen table, the one covered in dents and stains from decades of family dinners, and put the phone beside my coffee cup. My hands were shaking so badly the cup rattled. My daughter wanted me gone, not dead, not exactly, just removed. Set aside like old furniture. My throat tightened as I stared at the hallway lined with photographs. Anne smiling in the garden, Lily in her graduation gown, all 3 of us on the beach, drenched in sunlight and happiness. Was any of it real? Or had I simply imagined that my family, my little world, was stronger than greed? Hours passed. I didn't move except to wipe away tears I refused to let fall. When evening came and the house darkened around me, I whispered to the empty room, "They think I'm ready for a nursing home. They think I'm weak." A quiet, trembling breath escaped me. Half grief, half something else, resolve. "I won't let them bury me before I'm dead," I whispered. And for the first time in a long time, I felt awake, truly awake. Something inside me began to shift, slow and deliberate, like tectonic plates preparing for an earthquake. They thought they knew me. They had no idea, not yet. For the next 3 days, I moved through the world as though wrapped in thick fog. Nothing looked the same. The house felt unfamiliar, as though it was slowly slipping away from me, turning into something that belonged more to memory than to the present. I found myself touching the walls, the door frames, the backs of chairs, reassuring myself that they were still mine, still real. I said nothing to Lily, nothing to Mark, not yet. I had learned, over the course of 72 years, that silence can be louder than shouting. Silence lets you listen, and listening, I decided, was the only way I would understand just how deep their betrayal ran. The first step toward protecting myself wasn't anger. It was clarity, and clarity comes when you stop reacting and start observing. On Sunday morning, Lily stopped by unannounced. She carried a bag of groceries, a peace offering, I suppose, though I could practically hear the gears turning behind her forced smile. "Hi, Dad," she said, placing the bag on the counter. "I got you a few things." I glanced inside. Soup cans. Instant oatmeal, apples slightly bruised, things someone buys when they plan to take control of your diet. Or your life. That's very thoughtful, I said gently. Her eyes flickered with surprise. She had expected resistance. Pushback, maybe even anger. But I had no interest in showing my cards. Not yet. She watched me for a moment, studying my face. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Of course," I replied. "Why wouldn't it be?" She hesitated. You've seemed a little tired lately." There it was. The beginning of her script. I smiled softly, a practiced, fatherly smile. "Well, age does that." She nodded, relief easing onto her features, as if my calmness justified her plans. After she left, I stood at the kitchen window and watched her drive away. My heart clenched, but not in the same way as before. The pain was still there, yes, but now it was wrapped in something steely, resolve. The next morning, I called Margaret Price. You don't forget friends like Margaret. Even after retirement, she had the kind of mind that could slice through lies like a razor. She had represented small businesses, property owners, and more than a few bitter estate disputes. She'd also held my wife's hand through her final months and spoken at her funeral. If there was anyone I trusted, it was her. "Edward." She answered on the second ring, her voice warm but alert. "It's been too long, I agreed. I need your help. Legal help, yes." The warmth fell away from her tone like a curtain. "Tell me what happened." I sat on the old recliner, Anne's favorite, and explained the phone call, word for word. By the time I finished, the silence on the other end of the line was sharp enough to cut. "Edward," she said slowly, "they cannot force you out of your home. I know. You are mentally sound." "I know that too. They have no legal claim to the property." My voice tightened. "But they're planning to sell it anyway." There was a calm inhale. Not of surprise, the law rarely surprises a woman like Margaret, but of measured anger. "Then we will ensure that they can't." We met in her office that afternoon. The place hadn't changed much. Heavy oak desk, framed certificates, thick drapes letting in sunlight only reluctantly. Margaret sat across from me, her glasses perched at the edge of her nose. "Here's what we're going to do," she said, sliding a stack of papers toward me. "A revocable living trust. You transfer the house into it. You and I become co-trustees." I frowned. "Co-trustees, correct. That way, no one asterisk can sell, transfer, or alter the property without both signatures." And Lily, her lips tightened. "She will have no access, no rights, no say." I stared at the paperwork, my home, my refuge, protected by ink and law. It felt like armor. Margaret continued, "We'll also update your medical directive. No one will have authority over your health care unless you explicitly grant it. I let out a slow breath I hadn't realized I was holding. I'm sorry it's come to this, she said softly. It shouldn't have, I murmured, but here we are. A long silence settled between us as I signed the documents. With each signature, I felt something anchor inside me, something firm, grounded, immovable. When the last page was complete, Margaret folded the papers into a file. "You're protected now, Edward. And Lily?" I asked, voice trembling. What about being her father?" Margaret's eyes softened. "That part of you is still yours. The law doesn't touch that. But trust, that's something she has to earn." I nodded, staring at the file. "Thank you," I whispered. That evening I walked through my house slowly, room by room, memory by memory. Anne's favorite painting above the fireplace, Lily's childhood drawings on the hallway wall, the dent on the banister from the time she fell, running to show me her first report card. I placed my palm against the wood, feeling the grooves beneath my fingers. I wasn't ready to leave. I wasn't ready to be discarded, and I wasn't ready to be mourned before my time. But I was ready for something else, strength. Not the strength of youth, muscle and speed, but the strength of age, quiet, deliberate, patient, the kind that waits, watches, learns, and then strikes with precision. I walked to the window and looked out at the rose garden. Evening sunlight washed everything gold. For a moment I imagined Anne standing there, hands on her hips, shaking her head with that little smirk she used to give me. "You always did underestimate yourself, Eddie." I heard her whisper in memory, "Not anymore." I whispered back. Something was changing inside me, something Lily had never seen, something she would soon learn. I was not a burden. Not a helpless old man, not a prize to be claimed. I was still her father, and fathers do not go quietly, not when their dignity is threatened, not when their home is at stake, not when betrayal knocks on the door, thinking it will find weakness. No, what it finds finally is strength, real strength, the kind forged in heartbreak, the kind sharpened by silence, the kind that waits for the perfect moment to rise. The day everything began to shift was quieter than it had any right to be. No storm clouds, no ominous wind, just a crisp morning, the kind where sunlight drapes itself over the neighborhood like a warm blanket. I stood at my living room window, sipping tea, watching joggers move past my house, my house, the very one Lily and Mark believed they would soon be holding keys to. They had no idea how wrong they were. Inside my jacket pocket, the freshly stamped trust documents felt like a shield. Margaret had processed everything quickly. She had moved with the kind of efficiency only a seasoned attorney and a protective friend can. My house was no longer mine alone. It belonged to the trust, and anyone trying to sell it without my consent would hit a legal wall so solid it would rattle their teeth. But Lily and Mark didn't know that, not yet. 2 days after the trust was finalized, Lily stopped by again. Her smile was brittle, as if taped to her face. "Dad, do you have a minute?" she asked, always. I said, gesturing toward the couch. "Sit, sit." She perched on the edge of the cushion like a bird about to flee. "So," she began, clasping her hands, "Mark and I have been thinking a lot about your well-being." There it was again, their script. My well-being. I echoed, "Yes, we just want you to be safe. The house is really big for one person." She looked around as if she were already judging how much furniture she'd need to remove once I was gone. I watched her carefully. Every word, every facial twitch, every breath. Under different circumstances, I would have felt guilty for analyzing my daughter like a stranger. But trust once fractured demands vigilance. "And what do you suggest?" I asked mildly. "Well," she said, brightening with rehearsed enthusiasm, "there are wonderful retirement communities near the water. They have medical support, daily activities, people your age. You wouldn't be alone." "Alone," I repeated. "That's what you're worried about," she faltered. You said yourself, the house feels lonely sometimes." I had said that. Months ago, meaningfully, vulnerably, she had stored that comment away like ammunition. It's just something to think about, she added quickly. No pressure, but such hunger in her eyes. I smiled gently. I'll consider it. She exhaled in relief, patting my knee as she stood. Good. I just want what's best for you. She left soon after, the faint scent of her perfume lingering behind her. I stood at the window, watching her drive away, unaware that she had just signed her own downfall, not with ink, but with greed. By Wednesday, their subtle pressure turned into momentum. I found a stack of pamphlets on my kitchen table, undoubtedly left by Lily. Names of facilities circled in blue pen, cheerful seniors smiling on glossy covers. One brochure even had the words **, best option, **, written at the top in Lily's handwriting. I couldn't help but chuckle, not cruelly, but because their persistence was almost comical now that I knew they would fail. Still, I let the charade continue. Every conversation reinforced their confidence that I was compliant, soft, pliable. They believed they were moving pieces on a board I couldn't see. They didn't realize I was watching the entire game from above. Then, one afternoon, roughly a week after the overheard call, I noticed a change in their tone, an urgency. Mark showed up unannounced this time. Edward, he said, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. We were in the neighborhood, thought we'd check on you. I raised an eyebrow. Yes, he said, clearing his throat. Lily's parking. They were nervous, both of them, and I soon learned why. Lily came in carrying a folder. A thick one. Dad, she said sweetly, we wanted to talk to you about something. She opened the folder and slid a packet across the coffee table. Real estate documents, listing paperwork, preliminary appraisal values. I stared at the papers, marveling at the boldness. They were planning to list my home behind my back, without my signature, without my consent. This, Lily said, tapping the stack, is just a preliminary draft. Nothing is official. We just thought that I'd appreciate the initiative. I finished for her, yes. She brightened exactly. I picked up the papers, flipping through them with a calm I did not feel. You listed the value as $890,000. I noted, Mark nodded, a strong estimate. It could go higher. And you spoke to a buyer already. I asked casually. Their eyes widened. They hadn't expected me to know that. Mark swallowed. There may be interest. Interest. That was their way of admitting they already had a ready buyer. They thought they were so clever. Well, I said finally, this is a lot to consider. I'll take some time to think about it. Relief washed over their faces. They believed they had won, that I was bending, yielding, and that's when I made the decision, not just to protect myself, but to teach them what happens when you mistake kindness for weakness. 3 days later, I packed a suitcase, just a small one, enough clothes for 2 weeks. I left the house the same way Anne used to leave for our weekend getaways, quietly, closing the door with care, as though thanking it for its shelter. I left no forwarding address, no explanation, only a mail hold request at the post office. Then I boarded a train to the coastline, an old town with weathered docks and quiet, forgiving air. I rented a small cabin that overlooked the sea. The waves were constant company, as though the ocean was breathing in rhythm with me. For the first time in weeks, I felt peace. While I walked the shoreline each morning, Lily and Mark were busy orchestrating their downfall. They met with realtors, finalized the listing, celebrated the buyer's offer of $890, €0, signed their own fraudulent documents, and so confident in their victory, left for a business trip to secure their next investment. But they forgot one thing: a house cannot be sold without its owner, and I had already locked the ownership behind a legal fortress. They weren't selling my house. They were selling a dream they had no right to claim. As they boarded their return flight home, swelling with pride over money they believed was coming, I sat at the small wooden desk in the cabin. I took out a sheet of cream-colored stationery, the same kind Anne used to write birthday letters to Lily when she was small, and I began writing a different kind of letter, one that would end their game, one that would Return all the pieces to my board, one that would show them exactly what it feels like to be blindsided by someone you trusted. When I finished, I folded the letter carefully, slid it into an envelope, and wrote their names on the front. It was time they learned that I was not the man they thought they could manipulate. I was still their father, and fathers do not go quietly, not when their dignity is on the line, not when their home is at stake. The reckoning was coming, quiet, measured, precise, the sweetest kind. The day Lily and Mark returned from their business trip felt like the closing of a long, bitter winter. Not because I was there to witness their homecoming. I wasn't. I was sitting on a weathered bench overlooking the ocean, watching waves crash against the rocks, letting the sharp scent of salt air clear the last remnants of grief from my lungs. By then, they still believed everything was going according to plan. They believed the house was sold. They believed an enormous deposit would soon hit their bank account. They believed I was a passive old man who would simply wither away under their decisions. Belief, I realized, can be a dangerous thing, especially when it's built on arrogance. As they drove back into town, the world still hummed with opportunity for them. Lily would later say she felt lucky that afternoon, as though the universe finally owed her a break. Mark blasted music the whole ride home, tapping the steering wheel like a man seconds away from wealth. Their delusions warmed them like sunshine. They parked in front of my house with the same smug confidence they had worn in our recent conversations. Their suitcases slid out of the trunk with soft thumps, their smiles bright and careless. They walked up the familiar stone path, one Lily had chalked hopscotch patterns onto as a child, and paused at the front door. Mark took out his key. He inserted it into the lock. He twisted. Nothing. He frowned and twisted harder. Still nothing. Maybe it's jammed. He muttered, trying again with more force, but the key wouldn't turn. Not a millimeter. Lily's smile faltered. Try mine. She attempted her own key. Same result. They exchanged a look, confused, irritated, not yet afraid. Dad probably changed the lock, Lily said, but her voice wavered ever so slightly. That was when she noticed it. Envelope, taped neatly to the center of the door. No flourish, no dramatics. Just two names written in my careful handwriting. Asterisk, asterisk, Lily and Mark, asterisk, asterisk. Her breath hitched. A small, instinctive tremor. She reached for it, peeled it off slowly, as though expecting it to burn her fingers. Mark stood close behind her, peering over her shoulder as she unfolded the letter. My letter, the one that would dismantle every illusion they had built. She read aloud, barely above a whisper. Asterisk, asterisk, my dear Lily, asterisk, 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 and Mark. Asterisk, asterisk, you forgot to hang up the phone. I heard everything, every word, every plan, every intention. You plan to put me in a nursing home, not for my safety, not for my health, but for convenience, for money. I am old, yes, but not helpless, not confused, not finished. The house you tried to sell never belonged to you, not legally, not morally, not ever. It is protected by a trust. Your signatures hold no legal value. The sale is invalid, and the consequences of attempting to sell property that is not yours, you will soon learn them in full. I loved you, Lily, with every breath a father can give, but love without respect is a slow form of death. I choose my dignity. I choose my peace. I choose a life where my worth is not measured in dollars. Do not look for me. Do not contact me. Do not attempt to regain access to the house. You have forfeited that right. Take care of yourselves. Take responsibility. Take this moment and learn from it. Goodbye. Dad, when Lily reached the end, her voice cracked so sharply it seemed to slice the air. She looked at Mark, expecting reassurance, but found only the horror of a man realizing the ground beneath him wasn't solid at all. What does he mean, legal consequences? Mark demanded, panic already poisoning his tone. Lily swallowed. Mark, the sale can't go through without Dad's signature. The truth hit him like a hammer. You said it was handled? He barked. You said the realtor said we didn't need. I never said that. She screamed back. I said he would agree once we explained. But he didn't, Mark shouted. He never agreed, and we signed papers. Lily covered her mouth, her body shaking. Oh my God, oh my God. Neighbors later said the screaming began just minutes after they found the letter. years of greed, anger, and blame erupting like volcanic fire. Some said Mark punched the living room window when he realized the locks had been changed. Others swore they saw Lily collapse onto the lawn sobbing, pulling at her hair like a woman losing her mind. I wasn't there to confirm any of it, but I didn't need to be. Back at the cabin, I sat on the sand as the sun dipped low, turning the sky shades of orange and lavender. A seabird glided overhead, wings cutting through the wind with effortless grace. I wondered if Lily hated me now, if she finally understood the depth of her betrayal, if the silence I left behind would echo long enough to change her. Then I realized something: it didn't matter anymore. My heart had grown quiet, not cold, just still. The kind of stillness that comes after a long storm finally breaks and the sky clears. I wasn't angry. I wasn't triumphant. I wasn't vindictive. I was free. For the first time in years, free. I leaned back, letting the sand cradle me, and whispered into the wind, "I loved you enough to forgive you, but not enough to let you hurt me again." A wave rushed forward, slid over my bare feet, and retreated, carrying some small piece of my past with it. The ocean didn't judge. It didn't take sides. It simply moved forward endlessly, and so would I.